everyone. Hey, today we're talking about our solar system, and the activities that we're doing today came out of the Night Explorer book. We're going to be night explorers this month. We already explored about why night and day happen, and we talked about the night sky and the moon and the stars, I think last week. So this week it's the whole solar system. So I hope that you have fun doing these activities with me today, and I hope you can earn a pat for later. So this week, let's find out about our solar system. Can you name all of the planets? It's kind of like naming all of Santa's reindeer. I'm not exactly sure all of the order sometimes because there's 7 of them, but there is a little trick to help us remember the name and the order which the planets come in, and it's called a mnemonic. Now there's an old one that I learned when I was a kid. A mnemonic is just a sentence with the first letter of each word that starts with the first letter of each planet, like E for Earth and M for Mars and Mercury. And then you make a whole sentence out of those letters. And the sentence that I learned when I was a kid was, "My very excited mother just served us 9 pancakes." But the designation for the planets has changed since then. They made Pluto a dwarf planet and added Ceres, which is in the asteroid belt, a dwarf planet too. So I think we need to make up a new mnemonic. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's start. See my background? There's space. So let's start by putting the sun, which is the center of our solar system. Let's put the sun way over here in space, and then we'll start to put the order of the planets. Okay. So what is the first planet? Anybody out there? It's Mercury, and I'm going to put a big M up here, and we're going to put a little circle under that for Mercury. And in our old mnemonic, it was my for M, my Mercury. But let's see, we could still use my. What do you think? Everybody like that? My?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you like that. All right. So my, and then, the next planet in line is Venus. So we're going to put a big V up there in space, V for Venus. And the old mnemonic had my very. Ooh, well, we can use very again. That's a good descriptive word. Let's put V for little Venus under there. My very what? Anybody like monsters? Wait, no, the next letter is E, right? My very, well, monsters can be very big. Is there an E word with the letter E that means really big? Think of one. I can. How about enormous? My very enormous. Where's my Earth? I need my Earth circle. My very enormous. E for Earth, enormous. My very enormous. Oh, and we said monster because monsters are big. M for Mars and monster. Here we go. Whoops. I'm not sticking very good. My very enormous monster. Here comes Mars. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, my very enormous monster. What did he do? What did that monster do? Let's see. How about just, well, you know, we need a J for Jupiter, and our old mnemonic had a J in it for just served us 9 pancakes. So how about my very enormous monster J for Jupiter just did what, I wonder? Let's get it up there. Jupiter just, ooh, what's the next one, guys? No, what comes after Jupiter? I saw somebody with a book, and so I bet you've been studying this solar system. Saturn, right? And Saturn is the one that has lots of rings. My very enormous monster just, how about sucked up? Monsters traveling through space, sucking up things, just sucked up. No, wait, sucked. I think the next letter, the next planet starts with a U. So that would be up, right? Sucked up through Uranus. And I have a picture of Uranus here, and it has a ring on it too, just a smaller one than Saturn. And it's standing up like that. Let's see. Okay, let's get it. My very enormous monster just sucked up what? What would a monster suck up that would start with an N for Neptune? And how about nails? Monsters eating nails. Let's put Neptune up there. So there we have it. A sentence, a mnemonic to help us remember the order of the planets, the main planets. My very enormous monster, just for Jupiter, S for Saturn, sucked, U for up, Uranus. Nails, just sucked up nails. What? It's silly, but that helps you remember the order of the planets. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. But there's other things out in the solar system. Even though Jupiter is a dwarf planet, it's still out there. So I'm going to do P for Pluto. And it's kind of little way out there in space, and it's not quite round. That's one of the reasons they made it become a dwarf planet, because it's so small it didn't really turn out to be round like some of the other planets. There's Pluto. And the other dwarf planet is Ceres, and that's in the asteroid belt, and it's a lot smaller. And the asteroid belt is between Mars and I just lost Jupiter and Jupiter. So we're going to put Ceres there, big old asteroid, J for Jupiter, and put a C there. So now our sentence has to add some more letters. Let's do this. Here we go. It's not going to fit. Have to make up another one. How about minivans explode? Minivan explosion. Minivan explosions make crazy jackrabbits. J for jackrabbits. Minivan explosions make crazy jackrabbits sleep underground. U for underground. Nibbling. What are they going to nibble that starts with a P? How about peanuts? P, Pluto, peanuts. All right. Minivan explosions make crazy jackrabbits sleep underground, nibbling peanuts. Oh boy, that's pretty silly. So there is a little trick to help you learn the order of things. And we could do that with Santa's reindeer too if we wanted, but we don't have time. All right. So there's all our planets. And now that we know the order that they come in, let's kind of take a look at the size. I asked if everybody could bring a few things with them today. A great big huge ball to represent the sun. You know, this is about beach ball size. And so then let's talk about, oh, and some peas and some walnuts or something about the same size as walnuts, and an orange and a tangerine. So let's compare the sizes of the planets now. Whoops, it's gonna fall off my table. So if the sun was this big, about the size of a beach ball, how big do you think Mercury would be? Whoa, it's out there in space, the closest planet to the sun. It would be about the same size as a tiny pea. So I'm looking through my bowl of peas and I gotta find a really tiny one. And you know what? It's hard to tell. So let me turn my camera over to my tabletop so you can see a tiny pea. There we go. Okay. So there's the sun, right? Just barely in the screen. And the first pea I picked out, whoops, I just moved it. Oh no, it's so tiny. Okay, so there's Mercury. If the sun were as big as my beach ball, Mercury would be the size of a tiny pea like that. Okay, how about Venus? The three planets, actually the four planets that are closest to the sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, they're the rocky planets. If you could fly to those planets, you would be able to stand on their surface because they're made out of a lot of rocks. Okay, so if Mercury is the size of a tiny pea, Venus, look for some more peas in your bowl if you have some. Look for one that's a little bigger. Right there. There's Venus. That would be Venus. And then if Mercury's the size of a tiny pea and Venus was the size of a slightly larger pea, Earth would be the size of the biggest pea that you could find. So look in your bowl and check out to see if you've got any ones that are bigger than the other ones. That's about the same size. Yeah, I don't have any bigger ones. So that would be Earth. Mercury, Venus, Earth, and then something in between that size, a small pea, and the biggest pea you could find, and sort of a medium-sized pea, that would be Mars. Whoa, that's pretty crazy. Way out in space. Look how big our sun is. They say that 1 million Earths could fit inside here, inside the sun, and I believe it. They've compared those sizes. Okay, so there's our 4 rocky planets. And then, of course, we can put Ceres in here, but we'd have to find a tinier pea than this one, so we're going to skip the dwarf planets with this model. Okay, so the next size. Let's see what comes after Mars. Do you remember? Jupiter! How big is Jupiter? Do you have a big orange? I do. I'm going to put Jupiter right there. Oops, my sticker is showing. There we go. So there's Jupiter. Big old Jupiter. Now the next planets that we're comparing are actually not solid. If you could fly out to Jupiter, you wouldn't be able to stand on its surface because it's made out of a big ball of gas, swirling around, all held together by gravity. So it's more fluffy, I guess you could call it, if you landed on Jupiter. So next, another gas giant we have is, grab your nectarine and stick it down on the table, because that is what? Saturn, another gas giant, another planet. If you could fly there, you wouldn't be able to stand on its surface. And what's missing from Saturn? It's rings. Yep. It was hard to put rings around a tangerine, so I didn't do it. Okay, so then our next two planets, let's see. My very enormous monster just sucked up. I have a walnut. Do you have a walnut? Up for Uranus. Whoa. I'm going to have to move these closer to, I'm running out of space. There we go. Okay. Yep. Just like Uranus is about the size, if the sun was the size of a beach ball, Uranus would be the size of a walnut. So there's Uranus. Sucked up nails. So we have one more planet to put on there. Neptune, just a little smaller walnut. Let's see if we can see that if I hold them in my hand. One of them is just a little bit bigger than this one. Uranus is just a little bit bigger than Neptune. And we used to call them ice giants, or I'm sorry, gas giants too, because they are made of gases, but they're so far away from the sun that it's really hard for the sun's energy and heat to reach them. So all of their gases are frozen. So now we call them ice giants. So there's our size model of the solar system. Isn't that incredible? Check it out. Look how big the sun is compared to all our tiny rocky surface planets. And then big old Jupiter and cool, almost as big Saturn and Uranus and Neptune way out there in space. And of course, Pluto. Pluto would probably be another tiny pea like that. Way out there. The planets. Whoa. Sometimes I wish I could go out there. So there's our little model, and I hope you had a chance to put it together. So I'm going to pick up my planets now, because we're going to talk, that's about how big they are. So when we make models, sometimes models show things better than others. So when you saw all of my planets lined up here, it didn't really show us or tell us or give us much information about how far apart those planets were from each other, the distance they are from the sun and the distance they are from each other. So the next model we're going to make, woohoo, my son is getting into the camera. The next model we're going to make is a model that shows distance. Okay, so I hope you brought with you today a big piece of black paper. There's mine, and I'm going to cut that one. You'll see what we're going to do with it. And I brought a whole bunch of scraps of construction paper that we're going to make the planets with. And I brought a crayon, and I brought my glue stick. So let's get started with that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, and you can do this too, is to fold my piece of black construction paper in half, just like this. Okay, and you can do that too. And we're going to cut it apart. We're going to cut it in half. This is our space background, like the one I had in back of me. Big old space background. So I am cutting my piece of black paper in half so I can make a long line of planets. There we go. So now I'm going to put that together in the middle with, you can use glue stick, you can use tape. I think I have tape right here, so I'm going to do tape. But you can use a piece of glue stick to glue it together or tape it together so you have a long line of space where we can put the different planets in to make and see how far apart. We're going to compare how far apart they are from each other. Okay, so there it is. Whoa, it starts here and it goes all the way to the end. Okay, so that's our space. So now, we're going to start our solar system with the sun, of course. And I have a piece of yellow construction paper right here. And it doesn't have to be yellow. It could be any color that you want. And I'm going to cut kind of a half circle. I'm not going to cut a whole sun. I'm going to cut a half circle, and I'm going to put it at one end of my solar system. Where's that end? There it is. It's going to stick out. So that's where I'm going to put it. And this time I am going to, whoa, fell off the table. So get yourself something to represent the sun, a half circle of any. You could use a piece of white paper and color it yellow later if you want. But I just made sort of a half circle. I didn't measure it, but I just made it as big as I could to fit on my piece of black space paper. Very good. It's even coming off the side. So that one end of my solar system, which is actually the middle of the solar system, is the sun. And then we're going to line up the planets all the way down to the end. And this time we're going to include Pluto, just because. So at this end, I'm going to put a little, and I'm going to use brown. I like brown. I have a scrap, and I'm going to cut just kind of a little uneven thing that looks like a potato for Pluto. And this time I'm not worried about how big the planets that I put on here are. I'm just worried about how far they are away from each other because we're measuring distance. So I'm going to put my potato, maybe that monster, instead of sucking up, well, actually, the minivan explosions and crazy jackrabbits nibbling on peanuts could actually nibble on potatoes because Pluto looks like a potato. Okay, so now you can mark that with a P if you have a crayon or a marker that will show up on black. There it is, P for Pluto. Actually, you can't read that, it's upside down. There we go, P for Pluto. There we go. Okay, so Pluto, the sun is at one end, and Pluto is all the way at the other end. How you doing, guys? All right, so now you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to make that sun touch Pluto. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to, I'm going to crease it in the middle and then open it up. So can you see the crease? I can. There we go. There's my crease. So what planet will I put right in the middle of the distance that we're measuring of the solar system? Some of those planets are really far away from each other. Well, it's Uranus. We're going to make a planet. I think I will use some dark green for Uranus. I have some green construction paper, and I'm going to cut out a circle to represent Uranus, and it's exactly halfway between the sun and Pluto if you're measuring. So there we go. We're going to put that right in the middle with my glue stick. And then I'm going to, I think I dropped my crayon on the floor. Well, I was going to, yeah, I did. I'll pick it up. There's Uranus right in the middle, halfway between the sun. There's Uranus and Pluto. Wow. I didn't expect that because Uranus was one of the last ones. There's a U for Uranus. Ta-da. There we go. Okay, so now, I'm going to refold my solar system back again because I'm measuring. There was half, so now I'm going to make a quarter. So I'm folding my half in half. Okay, here we go. Fold your half in half. And then crease it because we're using those creases as measurements. So now I'm going to open it up. Okay. Whoa, so I have a crease that's kind of near the sun. I have a crease that's in the middle. Oh, Uranus didn't get stuck down very good. And then another crease that's 3/4 up there. So what planet am I going to put closest to the sun? What do you think? Yeah,
Earth.
You think Earth?
Earth.
Actually, I thought that too when I first did this, but guess what?
Say it, Sam.
Mercury. Mercury.
No, no, fold it in half again, a quarter full. Saturn. Saturn is there.
Oh.
You gotta be kidding me. As far as distances from the sun, Uranus is way out there. Pluto is way out there. So we're gonna put Saturn there. Can you believe it? Saturn is the planet that goes there. And I'm gonna use a pink circle. I have some pink here. I'm gonna put Saturn. But when I first did this model, I thought for sure it would be Earth or Mercury or one of the rocky planets. Whoops, but it wasn't. It was Saturn when I looked it up. So I'm going to do a bigger circle because Saturn's pretty big. Okay, but oops, that's where I'm going to put Saturn, right there. What? That's Saturn? So I'm going to put my glue on there. That just doesn't make sense to me. But I am also going to put a ring around Saturn because I think it's a really cool thing to remember. So then way over here, remember the other fold that was 3/4 of the way to Pluto and the sun? That's where we're going to put Neptune. So I have some green paper here, and I'm going to cut a circle, and we're going to put Neptune, an ice giant, right there. This is so amazing. So there's my glue stick. I'm going to put Neptune there. And of course, I'm going to mark it with an N. And there, N for Neptune. It might look backwards on your screen. Okay, so let's go. And there's Uranus. What? But we still have to fit Jupiter and Mercury, Mars, and Earth all the way in there. How are we going to do that? Whoa. So, okay, let's fold it up again into our quarter. Okay, there's our half and our quarter. And so now we're going to fold our quarter in half. So fold it up again, fold your quarter in half and crease it right there. And let's see what it looks like when we open it up. We have 2 more creases and 2 more planets. What? What? Look at that. Why half and half? How am I going to fit everybody in there? Well, I might have to get creative here. So I'm going to use some orange, and we're going to put Jupiter on that one. Can you believe it? I'm going to do even though Jupiter is really big, I think what I'm going to have to do is stick them up here because I'm going to have to fit the other planets in that little space. What? Okay, so here's Jupiter way up here. Dun, da, da, da. Okay. Jupiter, Jupiter, Jupiter. And then I'm going to have to put my other little planets in between. So I'm going to have to cut some tiny planet. And so first I'm going to do Mercury. I think I'll use, what colors do I have? Oh, I have some more orange to use up. So Mercury is kind of hot. Woo. Pink is a good hot color. So I'm going to put a really tiny circle I'm cutting for our rocky planet, Mercury. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? There's Jupiter right on that side. I'm going to, instead of cutting little tiny pieces of construction paper, I'm going to use my marker and do Mercury and Venus. Oops, you can't see it. And Earth and Mars. There we go. Then there's Jupiter, J, and Saturn. and Uranus and Neptune. And there we have it. Now, there is our model. I think I messed up somehow. Do you think I messed up? I think I did. I think I put Saturn in the wrong place. I did. So you can move your Saturn if you can, because we're gonna move it right to the next fold here. I did. I messed up. Okay, but it still shows you. We're gonna move Jupiter out just a little ways. There we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Jupiter is right here. Now, but those other planets, they're still that close to the sun. And in between Mars, which is right here, and Jupiter is the asteroid belt. So we're gonna make the sun kiss Jupiter. And there's that line. And that's the asteroid belt. Where I originally put Jupiter accidentally, that is the asteroid belt. So I'm gonna take my little marker, and in between Jupiter and Mars is the asteroid belt. And I'm going to put a little potato in there for our other dwarf planet series. Yeah, I messed up. Sorry, guys. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I really screwed up when I put Jupiter in the wrong place. Boy, sometimes that happens when I'm trying to do things there. Okay, so Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, the asteroid belt with Ceres in it, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, that's really far, Neptune, and Pluto. There we go. Aha. Good. All right. So there is your model of the solar system. How did you guys do? Well, let's go back to FaceTime, and I want to see what happened and see how you guys did. And let's see, then you can see how I fixed my mistake. Whoops. Again. There we go. All right. So look at the distance between our planets. Whoa. I can't even fit it all on the screen. Yep. So there's our sun and the four tiny planets, the four tiny rocky planets, and then the asteroid belt. They think maybe the asteroid belt was created by a planet that exploded. So there's lots of rocky asteroids. And then there's Jupiter. And then there's Saturn and Uranus. Oh, you know what? I didn't put on Uranus. It's really thin ring there. Ta-da. And Neptune and Pluto. And then it doesn't stop there. There's other things way out there beyond Pluto that we haven't even discovered yet. Very awesome. So show me your solar systems if you got them together. Let's see what you got. Oh, nice. I see one. Very good. Yeah, you guys were working hard. Yep. And when we were doing this, this was the distance model. The size.
It's really long.
It's really long.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, somebody's got coloring pages. Wow. Yep. Very good. Well, sorry for my little asteroid belt mistake, but I think we got it together now, and I hope you had fun putting the solar system together, and hope you remember my very enormous monster. Just what? Do you remember? Just sucked up nails. So join us again next time, and thanks for tuning in today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. seen before. And here's where you get to make a choice. Was it a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex? And I'm just gonna stick some pine cones in my box, and then the fun starts. I just start rolling them around. The air rushing out of the balloon is gonna push that balloon up. So let's see what happens. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow. So that's how rockets kind of work. We are going to build 2 different kinds of rockets today.